Well, hi there. I'm Dave Myers, and you're listening to Verse by Verse. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the first time that death visited me. Of course, death is always around, but this was the first time it came close to home, in fact, to my house. Here's a little background. It had become unwise for one set of my grandparents to live on their own in a small Chicago apartment, so we moved them north to our old farmhouse in rural Wisconsin. My parents shifted bedrooms a bit, stacked us boys in bunk beds in one room, and did a little remodeling to the other bedroom to make room for Grandma and Grandpa. It was not too much later that death visited. Now, to me, an 8-year-old, Grandpa Jim seemed ancient. But he loved us and we loved him. So it was quite a shock when Grandma frantically called for help that day because, as you might have guessed, Grandpa had collapsed and died. After the tumult of first trying to help, then recognizing the obvious, then the ambulance taking Grandpa away, I remember going into our little clothes closet in the bedroom, closing the door behind me, and just weeping. It was the first time that death was so close and so real. I needed and wanted comfort. I remember my mother finding me there and wrapping her arms around me, just what a little boy needed at that moment. Our verse for today is Matthew 5 in verse 4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Christ gave this promise at the very beginning of the familiar Sermon on the Mount, in which Jesus taught what many considered to be the essence of Christianity. In that message, Jesus first taught that the humble would be blessed, but the second was the promise that those who mourn would be comforted. It seems that there is nothing more valuable when we are mourning or grieving or in pain, whether emotionally or physically, than to have a compassionate person comfort us. An arm around the shoulder, a smile, a note of sympathy, words of support. Each of these things brings comfort because it says, I care for you and you're not alone. Of course, mourning can be a benefit to us because it sobers us, it makes us more introspective and possibly more appreciative of the good times in our lives, and certainly there's nothing like mourning ourselves to help us understand how others, when they come to their time of mourning, how they actually feel. Spending some time in that house of mourning gives us great insight on how important it is to comfort others when they enter that house. So first, we look to God for real comfort. Knowledge of His plan, knowledge of His purpose puts life in perspective, and that itself is truly comforting. Light from God shines through the fog that mourning usually brings, and brightens us once again. God often brightens us by the comfort He gives to us through others. So if you're currently in the house of mourning, we pray that comfort will come soon, from God and from others. If you know others who have entered that house of mourning, reach out to them and let God give them comfort through you. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
If you've been enjoying Verse by Verse and want to help the show grow, here's what you can do to get the word out. Wherever you're listening, make sure to subscribe. If you're on a platform that accepts reviews and ratings, those can both make a big difference in helping other people find us. Verse by Verse is a Life, Hope, and Truth podcast. Check out the show notes to find more free content, like videos, articles, and booklets in our Learning Center.